What is you telling me? What is your name again?
My name is Tangela Owens Taylor.
Okay, Tangela. And you telling me about the photos?
Yes, and what happened was we had a doctor here that wanted pictures of the veteran employees that worked here. So I went up to our multimedia and asked them to make some copies for me.
Right.
And they made me more than enough copies. So they had the empty slots out here. They couldn't figure out what they wanted to do with it. So what I did, I just decided to put my picture up there, my basic training picture up there, and I had a few other co-workers follow my lead. They put their pictures up there also.
I'm gonna go get that real quick. There's one there. Here we go. That's it.
Why are you taking Dan? She said not take him to the doctor.
I will. Go ahead. Go on. Here, let me hold it. Okay, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna do the introductory, and we're running. Today is October the 11th, 2012, and we're at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in West Palm Beach. And the name of the person being interviewed is
Tangela Owens Taylor.
Exactly. And what is your birthday?
My birthday is March 30th, 1962.
And your current address?
My current address is 1635 West 26th Court, Riviera Beach, Florida, zip code 33404.
And the interviewer is?
Derek Johnson.
Derek Johnson, okay. And also, I'm here, Carlton Cartwright, the Executive Director for the Children's Coalition Incorporated. And Derek and I are here for the organization. And Tangela, what war or branch of service did you serve in?
Well, I served in the United States Army, and also I did 6 years in the United States Army Reserves.
And what was your rank when you separated?
When I separated from the military, I was a Specialist 4.
Okay, all right. And start with number 2, Derek. Jogging the memory.
First off, what's a specialist for?
A Specialist 4 is a enlisted personnel 4. It's like one step away from a sergeant.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted voluntarily.
Voluntarily. Where were you living at the time?
At the time, I was living with my mom in Delray Beach, Florida.
Why did you join?
Well, my reasons for joining, because I had the type of mom that right after I graduated from high school, she gave me options, and sitting around the house not doing anything was not one of her options. And I didn't want to work at the time. I felt like 12 years of high school was enough. So I really basically wanted to just see the world. So that was my reason for joining the military, because it was a cheaper way of seeing the world.
Why did you pick the service branch you joined?
Why did I? The reason I chose that branch of service, because I like the uniforms.
Do you recall the first days of service, in service?
Did I recall my first day? Yes, I do. When my first day in the military, I was stationed, my first duty station, I was at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And I was, I was excited because at the time I was only 18, and it was like, okay, I felt like I was an adult that was not under my mom's roof anymore.
Tell me about your boot camp training.
I hope you're not catching my facial expression on camera.
It's a good camera.
It was bad. It was rough. It was nothing that I wouldn't, if I had to do it all over again, never in this lifetime. Never.
Well, tell us something about it. Tell us about it.
Okay, my basic training, the worst thing about my basic training, I had a drill sergeant that had us low crawl from our ammo room all the way until we reached the barracks. And I mean, that was like a country mile away. And you know, after we did all of this low crawling, do you know that this drill sergeant had the audacity to apologize for his actions? And it wasn't that. I'm gonna tell you another episode. When I was coming up in life, people, because I was dark skinned by nature, people always used to call me black. I never had a moment where somebody called me ugly until I reached basic training and we was doing mail call. And the drill sergeant was saying that he knew that somebody in the formation had a pretty name, but he couldn't remember who it was. So when he got to me, his words to me was, "Private Owens, what's your first name?" My response to him was, Tangela Owens, drill sergeant. My drill sergeant had the audacity to stand in front of all of these people in this formation and say, "How can somebody ugly as you have a pretty name like that?" And I was so hurt and embarrassed, I had to call my mama. And I told my mama, like, okay, I didn't know what telling her was going to do. It's not like she was going to come to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and do nothing to this man. You know, I really want to just beat this man in the head with my M16, but I couldn't do that. So that was one of my worst experiences in basic training.
How did you get through it?
By the grace of God. by the grace of God. That's how I got through it. Believe it or not.
Which wars did you serve in?
Well, at the time, there wasn't any wars.
It was peacetime.
It was peace. I went in during the peacetime where we played wars, but again, I never served in any war. But I've had my share of playing war.
Where did you go exactly?
Okay, starting from the beginning, I took basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Where were you living at the time before you went into service?
At the time, I was living with my mom.
Where?
In a little small town called Delray Beach, Florida.
Okay. And
And from there, I went to Miami to be sworn in. And after I swore in, I went to, I took basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, Delta 3-1. I remember that like yesterday. And I did my advanced individual training, which was AIT, at Fort Lee, Virginia. And from there, I did my first permanent duty station in Camp Casey, Korea.
where was that at?
That was in Camp Casey, Korea. It was sort of kind of, it was by, I'll say Seoul, Korea.
Where? Oh, in Korea?
Yeah, Korea.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So let me get this straight. What branch were you in again?
I was in the Army.
Okay. And you did basic training in what state?
Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Right. And then after that,
I went to Fort Lee, Virginia, which was my advanced individual training.
what was that training in?
That training was in my get me prepared to work in my MOS, which was 76 Victor 10, which was a storage supply clerk.
Okay. And how long was basic training?
Basic training at that time was, I might be a little off. I think it was like, I want to say like 13 weeks.
Okay. And then the MOS days.
MOS was it was like a 2-month course.
Okay. So and then after that, then you went to Korea, or?
After that, I went from Fort Lee, Virginia. I went home for 2 weeks, and I went from my house to Seattle, Washington, and I flew from Seattle, Washington for 16 long hours to Korea.
So I think the camera wasn't running, but you said before you went into service, you had some options.
Yes.
I want to get that.
My mom gave me some options, and like I said before, just staying home doing nothing was not one of her options. I either had to get a job, go to college, or go to college and get a job.
Right.
So what I wanted to do, I decided to go in the Army because I wanted to see the rest. I wanted to see the world, and that was a cheaper way of doing it.
Right.
Because I didn't have no money to pay to go to Korea. I didn't have no money. I couldn't afford to pay my way to my next permanent duty station, which was Fort Carson, Colorado. No. So that was one of my reasons for joining the military.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
You say it was peacetime, right?
Yes.
Would there still be combat during peacetime?
Well,
Where were you stationed in Korea?
I was stationed in
Seoul.
Camp Casey.
In Seoul?
No, that was closer down to the. No, I went through Seoul, but I wasn't stationed in Seoul. I spent a year at Camp Casey, Korea.
Was there any friction with that north-south?
Yes, it was,
Uh-huh.
but not as bad as it is now.
Okay.
You know, because they have this thing what you call the DMZ zone. I took a tour there, and
That's the demilitarized zone?
yes, yes, it was a very interesting tour, because during that tour, you know, it's like everything it didn't appear as it seemed. You know, like to the eye, you might be looking at two buildings, and glancing at these two buildings, they may look the same height, but it's something different between the North Korean building and the South Korean building. It could be either an inch taller or a half an inch shorter.
Right.
But they looked the same, but then again, they wasn't the same.
Okay.
Yes. And what was your question?
Wanted to know if there was any conflict.
Oh, yeah, well, like I said, not as much as it is today.
Were there any casualties in your unit?
I've seen my share. When I was in basic training, I had, one of my roommates roll over on a hand grenade. You know, and that was a very scary feeling for me. And then moving it along, when I was in Fort Carson, Colorado, I had a very dear friend of mine.
Okay.
Yes. I had a very dear friend of mine get killed in a car accident. And you know, I could have been in that accident also, because she asked me to go to the mall with her, but at the time I chose to do something else. And you know, about us being so close, they didn't want to tell me about her death right then. They waited till the next day, you know. And that you know, that was the first experience I had with somebody being that close to me in a death experience like that. And you know, it was kind of hard for me to get through that, but you know, I did get through it. And to this day, I still think about her. I still think about her. I have all the newspaper articles, the memorial service. I have all of that, you know.
Was that one of your most memorable experiences?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I need you to speak up a little bit. Project your voice a little bit more. You okay? Angie?
Yes, I'm okay.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, I was awarded quite a few medals. I can't just name them right offhand because, you know, it's been, it's been, it's been, what, over 20 years now. But yes, I did. I have like an overseas medal. I can remember, I know I do have an overseas medal. I can't, like I say, I can't remember all the medals right offhand. Yeah.
I'm lost.
Job assignment, combat, DC, no. Okay, did you have anything to do, you said when you separated, what was your rank?
My rank was a specialist 4.
Okay, you didn't have anything to do with battle planning or anything, did you?
No.
Okay, all right. And, okay, let's see. Service. So we need to talk a little bit about what was life like in the service? What was it like in basic training? You know?
Well, it was, you know, it was something that you had to, especially by me being so young, coming straight out of high school.
How old were you?
I was 18.
Okay.
I graduated from high school June of 1980, and I went in the military September 1980. So a lot of things were new to me. Very interesting, especially, I mean, here it is, you taking a 18-year-old kid like I was,
Right.
and sending them straight overseas on their first permanent duty station. You know, and it was a very trying time for me.
Life-changing.
Very life-changing. I mean, but as time went on, I managed to get through it.
Adapt.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so what were the people like in basic training? Your instructors, you said that, you told us about the one. Okay, so what were your and when you were studying for your MOS, for your job specialty,
Yes.
what were those instructors like?
Okay, the instructors for far as me studying for the job, they wasn't as bad as the drill sergeants they wasn't as bad. No comparison.
Okay.
That's like trying to compare apples with oranges.
Right.
No, I mean the drill sergeants, they was rough. They was mean. I mean, I even had a drill sergeant actually take chewing gum out of my mouth. Yes, and chew it. Yes. I mean, I could keep you here for at least 2 days or so to tell you about some of the experiences that I have experienced in basic training. But through it all, it was a learning experience.
Right.
I mean, because when I joined the Army, it's not like I went in the military knowing everything. So they had to do that in order to see if she going to be a soldier. Do we have a soldier here, or do we have a woman here? Because there's a difference between the two. Because some of the things that I had to experience in the military, I didn't have to experience that outside, like using the toilet outside, staying and spending times in the woods, going on road marches. See, if I wouldn't have never joined the military, I wouldn't have never had a chance to experience all that. And that type of thing there helped me to appreciate life more.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so how did you get along with the officers and the enlisted? What was your opinion? What is your opinion?
Well, when it all boiled down to it, we all got along. I learned how to distinguish between the NCOs and the officers. I learned that the officers, you had to respect the officers more than you had to respect the NCOs. Yes.
Okay, all right, that's cool. All right, how did you stay in touch with your family? Or did you?
I did.
Okay.
My first experience, as far as my family is concerned, my first experience in when I was overseas, you know, by being such a difference in the time zone, it was hard for me to get in contact with my mom. So what my mom did, since she hadn't heard from her daughter, she took it upon herself to call the Red Cross.
Okay.
That was a frightening experience for me because I thought something had happened at home, but what had happened, she hadn't heard from me, so she felt the only way that she can get in contact with me was through the Red Cross. Yeah, so here it is. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning overseas, and it's daylight here, and I'm on the phone talking to my mom for the first time after probably like after 2 or 3 months.
Right.
Yes, but it was hard.
Okay. So, okay, did you write, was your preference writing your mother? And what about other relatives? Or was it calling on the phone?
Calling on the phone. Yeah, calling on the phone because I didn't like writing.
Okay.
No.
You wanted to hear her voice?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Okay, so besides Korea, okay, we covered the Carolinas, we're out in Virginia,
Uh-huh.
and you stopped over in San Francisco.
No, Seattle, Washington.
Seattle, Washington, sorry. And did you spend any time in Seattle?
Yes, I spent the night in I spent just one night in Seattle.
Right.
And once I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of myself, but once I left Korea, I came home, and then from home, again, I left home and went to Fort Carson, Colorado. Mm-hmm. And that's where I was discharged from the military, from Fort Carson, Colorado.
How long were you stationed there?
I was stationed in Fort Carson for 1 year and 9 months.
Okay, well, we'll get to that. And Korea, how long were you in Korea?
I stayed in Korea for 1 year.
Okay. And what did you do while you were there? Did you go out on the economy? Did you get to go on leave? I need to ask you also about, did you go home on leave ever?
No.
But in Korea, what was Korea like? What was your job like? What were the Korean people like? What were the people on the base like?
Well, because we also had Korean soldiers on the army bases. They was called Katusas. Those was Koreans augmentated to the United States Army. That's what Katusa meant. Yeah, so what while I was in the country, I got to learn a lot of their customs, because I had one Korean friend there, and I used to tease her that, because one of their custom was, out of several, was that you never walked in their house with your shoes on. You had to take your shoes off outside. And I used to tell her, listen, if you was back in the United States and you take your shoes off outside somebody's door, they wouldn't be there when you get, they wouldn't be there when you got ready to leave. And they thought that was so cute. Another thing that I learned, that I could care less how long the meal was being served, that the meal was served. You was not allowed to eat your meal until the head of the household, which was the man of the house, step forward, come to the dinner table. And I also had experience where you didn't sit in chairs in their house. You sat on the floor, on a pillow. So my overall experience, once I got to learn their custom and their ways, I really wanted to stay there. But Uncle Sam wouldn't allow me to stay. Yep.
So you enjoyed it?
I enjoyed it. Because what I came to realize, that when it comes to the military, you have two different types of armies. You have the overseas army and you have the United States Army. And the United States Army, no, let me rephrase that. The overseas army was not only different, but it was a whole lot better because when I was overseas, all the things that I did in the United States, I didn't have to do when I was overseas, like far as cleaning my TA-50, far as washing my uniforms.
What is the TA-50?
The TA-50 was your, I can't think of the name of it. Your TA-50 was like your army gear, like your tents, your
Your living quarters.
your living quarters. I didn't have to do none of that, you know. But once I got overseas, once I came back to the United States, I was introduced to GI Party in a very, cause when when I got back to the States,
GI Party is where you clean up everything.
I didn't know
House,
that.
bottom.
My interpretation was, what stuck out in my mind was party. And I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna love it here. Dog, I just get here and they talking about having a party. You know, so when I fall out for formation at 1800 hours, I see all these mop buckets. And I'm like, what is all this for?
The only thing that party references is referring to in that phrase is that it's a gathering of people.
Yes.
Okay. That's
Yes.
That's the only
And
part.
you know, and it's like, I asked the question, what is all this for? And the first thing I remember the sergeant asking me, well, at the time I was a PFC. PFC Owens, where did you just come from? I said, well, I just came from overseas. She said, that's why. She said, a GI party is you clean up. Clean up? The Koreans did all that for me. I didn't have to do that. You know? Come on, let's get real here.
They was
But
treating you like you were an officer.
yes, but I learned very fast on how to, because you know, in basic training, they taught you all of these things,
Right.
but I had to relearn this all over again. Because I thought once I left basic training, I didn't have to do any of these things anymore.
Right.
But I learned real fast. Yes, I learned real fast.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I need you to pick up the next section there. Let's see. Wait a minute. Okay. All right. Well, let's go one last thing, and then you can pick up 5. You hear me, Derek? At 5. Okay. So, well, let's finish the travel piece. I know you have a lot of funny stuff, but as well as serious. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Travel. So while you were in Korea, did you just stay? You were stationed near Seoul, right?
Yes, but what I did while I was in Korea, instead of taking my leave time coming back to the United States, I took what you call in-country leave.
Right.
I got a chance to see Panama. I got a chance to see Paris. I got a chance to see Japan very briefly.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Well, I did a field training exercise in Panama. That's how I got a chance to see that.
Right.
Yes, but far as the traveling, because all the exciting stuff was like right outside of my barracks. You know, I didn't have to have a car. You didn't have to have a car in Korea. Mm-hmm. No, because everything was like right there. All the clubs, anything you wanted to see was like right outside the gate.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you left Korea, came home for a bit after
Yes.
a year, and then you went back to Fort Carson
Yes.
in Colorado.
Right.
What city is that near?
That's near Colorado Springs.
Oh, okay. All right. That's about 20 miles from Denver, right?
Yes.
I believe.
Yes.
So, and you were stationed there for,
I was stationed in Fort Carson, Colorado for a year and 9 months.
okay, and what did you do while you were there? What was your job? Did you go
Okay.
out on the economy? What was people like?
My job was a warehouse specialist, and yes, now there you had to have a car if you wanted to enjoy it. They did have entertainment right there on the post, But if you really wanted to be entertained, you had to have a car. You know, like I was the type of person, I used to love to shop. So I tried to basically learn Colorado like if I was going to live there forever. Yeah. Now that was another interesting place because, I mean, you had the police officers riding horses, you know, but it was a very clean state, very clean state. I loved it.
Okay, your turn.
You say there was entertainment on the ship or while you were traveling?
Yes.
What was the entertainment?
Well, see, a person that never been in the military is not what a lot of people think. The military, once you get past your basic training and your AIT and you start on your job, it's just like going to work, coming home every day, just like you would do out here. Only thing is like, it all depends on where you were stationed at. You had a lot of things, you had a lot of entertainment to keep you busy. It was never a dull moment being in the military. It was always something to do, always. Especially when I was overseas, because everything was in walking distance with me, you know. Yep, it was very entertaining.
Were there anything in particular that happened that was funny while traveling? Like a person joking around or pranks, I should say.
Well, when I traveled from Seattle, Washington to Korea, we had to find things because that was I flew for 16 hours. So for our entertainment, they showed us movies, and the other military personnel that was traveling with me, we found all different types of things to keep ourselves entertained for those 16 hours.
Anybody ever pull any pranks on you? Jokes? Maybe? Yeah. Besides that bad experience that you had in basic training, that wasn't really a prank. That was
not cute at all.
That wasn't funny.
No, that was not. I didn't think it was cute.
I'm sure you had a lot of humorous moments.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes. That's why I say, see, being in the military is just like life itself, you know. You're going to have your good days, you're going to have your bad days. You know, some days, even though you always had something to do, you're going to have those days where you just didn't feel like doing nothing when you got off from work. Just going to your barracks and just relaxing.
Did you keep a diary?
No.
Okay. Derek, pick up number 5.
Do you recall the day your service ended?
A very sad moment for me. Yes, I recall that day back in August. And it was like during that time, they had a freeze on everything, like far as, cause if I wanted to re-enlist, to go back overseas.
Uh-huh.
And they had a freeze on anybody going overseas. So it was either you stay right there where you was at, or you get out.
Separate.
Yeah, and I didn't want to stay in Fort Carson because, like I said before, the Army consisted of the United States Army and the Overseas Army. I didn't like the United States Army as much as I did the Overseas Army. So I said, well, okay, I'll get out and I'll join the reserves, see how I like the reserves, and if I don't like it, I'll re-enlist.
Right.
But other things happened where I didn't re-enlist. I just did my 6 years in the reserves and was done with it. Yes.
Go ahead.
Where were you?
When you separated.
When I separated, I was at Fort Carson, Colorado.
What did you do in the days and weeks after?
Well, I came home and tried to basically get back into this society here, and it was kind of hard. You know, I've had ups and I've had downs. I care not to go into all of that. You know.
Hills and valleys.
Yes, but what I did, I experienced a lot of things, and when I got out, that was like the worst time of my life, because I experienced a lot. I had a lot of bad experiences that I thank God that I've managed to overcome.
Did you go back to work or to school?
Did you use the GI Bill?
Yes, I did.
For
Well, I started to further my education, and that didn't work out as planned. No, because like I said, I went to experiencing things that I shouldn't have, and that was my biggest downfall. Because if I would have knew then what I know now, I would have been just sitting home doing nothing. I would have retired from the military.
Go ahead.
Did you make any close friends while in service? Besides,
Well, see, one thing about the military, you make friends, but you amongst your traveling, you can't really get. I did have a close friend, and like I explained to you what happened to her. But far as just close friends, I did keep in contact with these friends when I first got out. But far as being, if I was asked the question, are you in contact with any of these friends now? No. I mean, like being here at the VA, I see some people that I've done some reserve time with. But other than that, no.
And one of those reasons is, I have the same experience, is because when you go to basic training, or when you go to your next base or the next base, people that you meet are from all over the country.
Yes,
So if they separate or they get stationed somewhere else,
yes.
they'll be on the other side of the world.
And I mean, you got to be really, you have to be really lucky if you see that if you see anybody twice.
Right.
You know, I had one young lady that was with me from basic training, and we was from 2 different states. I met her in basic training. We did our basic training together. We did AIT together. We did both of our permanent duty stations together. She was the only person that was with me from the time I was in the military. No, from the time I got the basic training until the time I got out.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
do you still talk to her?
No. Like I said, the only people that I may come in contact with is the people that I did reserve time with that might come through the VA.
Right. Do you belong to any veterans organizations? Or do you go to any reunions?
No.
Okay.
Because I don't know if I said it in the beginning, but even though I'm a patient here, I worked here also until I got into the situation that I'm in now.
Go to the next paragraph. Go to 6.
What did you do? What did you go on to do as a career after that war?
I can say that again.
Career. What did you do for a career after the war? After the service?
After I got out of the military, my job experience was, because I like people. I'm a people person. So what I did, I took up nursing. And I worked in several nursing homes until I got lucky and came aboard on this at the VA.
Okay.
Yes.
Did your military experience, what do you think about your military experience?
You
Did
know
it
what?
influence you? Say it. Go on.
Did it did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
No.
Well, how did it affect you?
What?
Did it affect you, your thinking, your experience in the military?
You know what? I'll just put it like this. I thank God that I did go in the military. I thank God that I did get the military experience, because little did I know that that little bit of military time that I did do going to help me to where I am now. Yes.
Okay, and is there anything else that you'd like to add that we haven't covered in this interview?
No, I can't think of nothing. I think I've spoke. I think I did a lot of talking as is.
No, that was fine.
Thank you.
Next.
Thank you for sharing your recollections.
Recollections.
Well, thank you. You're welcome.
Of your military experience.
You're welcome. I hope one day I'll be able to share all of this with my. Well, I don't have any kids myself, but I hope I'll be able to share this small experience as far as this interview is
You gotta
concerned.
get a copy.
Oh, I am?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, because I would love to share this with my family members and my
gonna
husband.
Knock these out on the weekend. You'll have a copy next week.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I have that blanket, please?